every day during the month of Elul. Page 358.
אחת שאלתי מת אדוני אותה אבקש. אחת שאלתי מת אדוני אותה אבקש. שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. אחת שאלתי מת אדוני אותה אבקש. אחת שאלתי מת אדוני אותה אבקש. שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו.
Is it warm in here? Cool. All right. It's not warm in here. It's me. All right. It usually is. We're going to continue on page 71 with
Sorry, 74. It's my fault.
It is your fault. Whatever it is. Page 74. We're going to fix that. Ma tovu.
Ma tovu. Ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. ואני ברוב חסדך אבוא ביתך, אשתחווה על קודשך ביראתך. מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. אדוני אהבתי מעון ביתך, ומקום משכן כבודך, משכן כבודך. ואני אשתחווה ואכרע אברך לפני אדוני עושים. מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל, משכנותיך ישראל.
On page 75, we read together, "May the one whose spirit is with us in every righteous deed be with all who work for the good of humanity and bear the burdens of others and who give bread to the hungry, who clothe the naked and take the friendless into their homes. May the work of their hands endure, and may the seed they sow bring abundant harvest. Page 76. And we're reading together in English, gratitude for our physical bodies. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who formed the human body with skill, creating the body's many pathways and openings. It is well known before your throne of glory that if one of them be wrongly opened or closed, it would be impossible to endure and stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working tremendously, wondrously. Baruch atah Adonai, rofecho basar umafli la'asot. And then we turn the page. On 78 is the pairing for the body. This one, acknowledgement of the purity of our souls.
Elohai, Elohai, neshama, shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai, Elohai, neshama, shenatata bi tehorahi. Ata verata, ata yetzarta, ata nefachta bi, ve'ata meshamra bekirbi. Elohai, Elohai, neshama, shenatata bi tehorahi.
Turning the page.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan nasech vivina, להבחין בין יום ובין לילה. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, roka haaretz al hamayim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir sheina me'einai, utnuma me'afapai. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura. Amen.
Page 96.
Tov lehodot Adonai, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להכיר בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. להכיר בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני,
ולזמר לשמך עליון. Next page. אשרי יושבי ביתך עוד יהללוך עוד יהללוך.
Own.
ואנחנו נברך ים מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 el bekocho, hallelujah, bitkia ozo, hallelujah, begorotav, hallelujah, kerov godlo, hallelujah, 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 בתקע שופר, hallelujah, בנבל וכינור, hallelujah, בטוב ומחול, hallelujah, במינים ועוגב, hallelujah, 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 בצלצלי שמה, hallelujah, בצלצלי תרועה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. נשמת כל חי תברך את שמך, אדוני אלוהינו. נשמת כל חי תברך את שמך, אדוני אלוהינו. Eloheinu. Yadai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai dai dai. Page 106. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה. ועל מה דברה חידותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה ברכו לימן כברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. Please rise for the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai hamnevorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam vaed. Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam vaed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer or v'orei choshech, oseh shalom u'vorei et hakol, hameir la'aretz v'ledarim aleha barachamim, u'tuvo machadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit. Ma'rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita, mal ha'aretz kinanecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, al shavach ma'aseh yedecha, ba'al me'or she'asita yifarucha selah.
Or Chadash, Or Chadash, Al Zion Ta'ir. Or Chadash, Al Zion Ta'ir. V'nizkechu lanu, mera'ale oro. V'nizkechu lanu, mera'ale oro. Yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Yadadai, dai, dai, dai. Yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Dai, 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 dai. Yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Yadadai, dai, dai, dai. Yadadai, dai, 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 dai. Dai, 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 dai. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer hameorot. We continue on the next page with the words of Ahava Rabbah. Ahava Rabbah Havtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chemra Gedola V'Tera, Hamalta Aleinu. Ba'avur avotenu ve'imotenu shebatchu becha avur avotenu ותלמדנו חיים כן תכוננו ותלמדנו המרחם רחם עלינו רחם עלינו ותן בליבנו להבין ולהשכיל לשמוע ללמוד וללמד לשמור ולעשות ולקיים את כל דברי
בתלמוד תורתך באהבה. והאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך, ולא נבוש, ולא ניכלם, ולא ניכשל לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. והביאנו לשלום אל בכנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו כמינו לארצנו, כי אבוא ישועת אתה ונבחת, וקרב תנו שמך הגדול סלע באמת. להודות לך יחידך באהבה, ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
May be seated. We continue on page 116.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Let's see, how about the top of page 121? Emet, truth. There is no place where you are not. Even in the wilderness, there is your word. Join with me. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. True and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice. Michamocha on page 122.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Mikamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mikamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef elet, nora tehilot osef elet. Who is like you,
ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ובדכנו מחיודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי אגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. לקדושה. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך. וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו, אדוני אדוננו, מדיר שמך, מדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם. אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד קולך,
ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. Continuing on the top of page 132 with Yismechu.
ישמחו. 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 ישמחו ומלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. מקדש שביעי שבת, כולם ישבעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת, חמדות ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. זכר זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, זכר זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
We continue on our own silently through page 140. Through page 140.
Shalom, Tova, Uvracha, Sim Shalom, Tova, Uvracha, Sim Shalom, Tova, sim shalom tova uvracha. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Verachamim, sim shalom, וברכה, שים שלום, טובה וברכה. עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עמך שים שלום, טובה וברכה, שים שלום, טובה וברכה, טובה וברכה, טובה וברכה.
I want to give that prayer time to travel to where it needs to go. Those prayers for peace. We turn in our prayer book now for the service for the reading of the Torah, page 246. Please rise as you're able.
כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים. ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד, אחד אלוהינו גדול אדוננו קדוש שמו. גדול אדוני איתי ונרוממה שמו יחדיו. לך אדוני הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד. ככל בשמיים ובארץ, ככל בשמיים ובארץ. לך אדוני הממלכה והמתנשא לכל ראש. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו.
What's the matter? Page 1296 is the part of Shoftim that we're going to be reading. 1296 in the Torah commentary, not the prayer book. So if you'd like a book, they actually are on that cart. It's called the Torah commentary. Thank you. I haven't said what line yet. I'm waiting for people to get books. Because I figure I'll just have to say it 3 more times. This is why I won't have to say it 2 more times. You will. Appreciate that so much. So this week, our Torah portion is Shoftim. It's most famous for the 3rd line in it, Tzedek, Tzedek, Tirdof. We're not going to read that one, because we read that one every year. So we're going to read something else. We're going to read from chapter 17, beginning with verse 14. It's the 3rd, I think it's the 2nd Aliyah.
Yeah.
And it has an interesting mitzvah in there, an interesting commandment. And we'll see what you think about it. We'll have an opportunity to talk about it. Verse 14 through 20 on chapter 17. Something that I haven't really been thinking about over the years, so something new. And maybe we'll all learn something together. So begin with the blessing. Karen?
Baruch Adonai habarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai habarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Ki tavo el ha'aretz asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach v'rishta v'yashavta v'amarta asima alai melech k'chol hagoyim asher savivotai som tasim alecha melech asher yivchar Adonai Elohecha vo mikerav achacha tasim alecha melech lo tuchal latet alecha ish nochri asher lo achicha hu rak lo yarbe lo susim v'lo yashiv et ha'am Mitzrayma lima'an harbot sus v'Adonai amar lechem lo tosifun l'shuv b'derech hazeh od v'lo yarbe ki v'lo nashim v'lo yasur levavo what v'lo yasur levavo v'chesef v'zahav lo yarbe lo kasher v'haya chashiv to al kisei mamlachto, v'chatav lo et Mishnah HaTorah hazot, al sefer milifnei hakohanim haleviim, v'haita imo v'karav vo kol yemei chayav, l'ma'an yilmad liyira et Adonai Elohav, lishmor et kol divrei HaTorah hazot, v'et chukim ha'ela la'asotam, l'vilti rum levavo me'achav, Uvilti sur min hamitzvah yamin usmal lema'an yarich yamim al mamlachto hu uvanav b'kerev Yisrael.
256-ish? Or 250 maybe. I think it's 250.
250, I think. It's all right,
That's
no problem.
okay.
You're good.
I'm in a hurry, it's Shabbos.
Yeah. Where are you going?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Before you sit down, this is Karen Breen, in case people don't know you. There's some people that are here today that are new. Karen is a past president of the congregation. She's also, a stalwart, is that the word, stalwart? Volunteer. There's something that needs to be done, Karen say, I'll do it. So I think you're reading Torah 2 days this year on Rosh Hashanah because she can't say no and we can't stop asking. And she's heading one of the groups for the Unification Project. So really, you should know Karen Breen. So thank you so much for what you do.
And nice to meet any of you I haven't met before.
So I'm going to read the translation, and then while we read it, and you're thinking about it, maybe you can think about, why did I choose this section? If after you have entered the land that the eternal God has assigned to you, and taken possession of it and settled in it, you decide, I will set a king over me, as do all the nations about me. You shall be free to set a king over yourself, one chosen by the eternal your God. Be sure to set as king over yourself one of your own people. You must not set a foreigner over you, one who is not your kin. Moreover, he shall not keep many horses or send people back to Egypt to add to his horses. Since the Eternal has warned you, you must not go back that way again. And he shall not have many wives, lest his heart go astray, nor shall he amass silver and gold to excess. And by the way, they were all kings. There were no queens. When he's seated on his royal throne, he shall have a copy of this teaching written for him, this Torah, written for him on a scroll by the Levitical priests. Let it remain with him, and let him read in it all his life, so that he may learn to revere the Eternal his God, to observe faithfully every word of this teaching, as well as these laws. Thus he will not act haughtily toward his fellows or deviate from the instruction to the right or to the left, to the end that he and his descendants may reign long in the midst of Israel. So we'll have an opportunity to talk about that in a few minutes, but first we'll take a moment for Misha Berach. It's back in the prayer book on page 253. We'll sing together the first paragraph and then share the names of those members of our community, our family, our friends who are in need of healing.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor habracha limnotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
This morning we hold in our hearts for healing of body and spirit Ellen Apple, Julie Arnheim, Peggy Boone, Alex Botkin, Jimmy Broff, John Callum, Jerry Chesson, Chuck Davis, Eileen Davis, Joanne Mandel DeWitt, Amanda Goldstein, Mark Graham, Fred Hesser, Kate Can, Naum Kaplan, Al Camper, Eitan Klausner, Tony Linder, Caroline Liston, Sally Littman, Laura Marshak, Hal Mendlowitz, Ellen Newberg, Stephen Nides, Bud Roth, Richard David Rothman, Cheryl Sachs Dowling, Rabbi Bert Schumann, Benjamin F. Siegel, Stephen Simon, Rabbi Jonathan Stein, Elaine Weisberg, Jonathan Wind, Kayla Wright, James J.H. Yee, Hinda Sarah Bat Chana Pearl, Ramatia Shulamit Bat Miriam, Chava Gitel Bat Toiba, Shlomo David Ben Tova, also add Joan Black and Len Asimov. Any other names this morning? Misha Berach?
Lee Markerson. Ted DeSanti and Catherine Colos.
Second paragraph.
Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Let's rise as we lift and dress the Torah.
Hang on, I'll come on this side. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי ידו. Sorry, can you go to the top? ויד משה. Yes, good. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai dai,
I feel like we're asking way too much of you, Cantor Glaser. You have to lift the Torah, sing, and panic
It's a
all
good
at the same
workout.
time.
It's all good. Is that me again? Oh.
It's you again.
Okay. Sorry, I've lost a cue sheet for some reason.
Here.
Thank you. We have our Haftarah now, which is on page 1318. 1318. It's I think the third or the fourth in these Haftarot of consolation, and
Fourth.
it's the Jews of the Babylonian exile, kind of lamenting the loss of Jerusalem. So it is still kind of feeling lost and bereft, but also that hopefully there will be this return. So we're going to start on 1318 with verse 7. We're going to do verse 7, 8, 9. And the blessing before is on 1603 in the same book. 13:18. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim veratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו ובישראל עמו ובנביאי האמת והצדק. מה נבוא על ההרים רגלי מבשר משמיע שלום מבשר טוב משמיע ישועה אומר לציון מלאך אלוהיך כל צופייך נשאו כל יחדיו ירננו כי עין בעין יראו בשוב אדוני ציון פצחו רננו יחדיו חורבות ירושלים, כי נחם אדוני עמו, גל ירושלים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות. האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. Okay. So any ideas, any thoughts about why we might be reading this little part of Shoftim today? It's not about an election, I promise you that. No, I don't deal with that. No, it's not about the election. But it is about something that started this week. I'll give you a hint. I'm sorry? Yes, the month of Elul began this week on Wednesday. It was the first day of Elul, which means that there's 1 month left until Rosh Hashanah and 40 days until the end of Yom Kippur. So really, we look at this like whole period of 40 days. 40 days is a number that shows up a lot, right? It just means it's a long time. It's enough time to do the work. 40 years wandering. 40. There's other times that 40 is mentioned. So yes. So the month of Elul began on Wednesday. And the Torah portion, this is almost always, it's either the first or second week of Elul that we read Shoftim. Of course, remember that Deuteronomy is a retelling. We've already heard these stories before, but now this is Moses' farewell speech, so we're hearing the stories again. We're still wandering in the desert, though. We haven't made it into the land of Israel. So we're in that, still in this sort of this in-between place, not quite slavery. Well, it's not slavery, but not quite free, right? Not quite on our own, not quite independent. We're still sort of in this transitional space. And we get this verse. Okay, so the part about the king is that the people eventually, not yet here, but eventually in our history start complaining that they want a king. They want a king because everyone else has one. And so actually that line there, the first one, I will, if you decide I will set a king over me, as do all the nations around me, like maybe we want to be like everyone else. Looking around, this is already once we're in Israel, so it's kind of like looking forward. If you should want a king when you get into the land, okay, but there's going to be, like, God really doesn't want us to have a king. Any ideas why? Any ideas why God wouldn't want us to have a king?
Right? Like God's in charge, not a person.
That's part of it, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. What else? What other reasons?
We're not usually recommended to do what everyone else is doing.
That's a part, yeah. Not just because everyone else does. Jump off the ledge, whatever. Yeah, and also there's a couple warnings in here that it says here, don't let the king go back to get horses or wives. Don't let the king get distracted by human things, by wealth, by that's what human beings do. We get distracted by the things around us. Like, it's not a criticism. We do that, right? So the warning is right there. Like, if you're going to get a king, it should be a person that you know. It should be, God needs to choose that person, and don't let them get too distracted. I didn't pick it for any of those reasons. I chose the verse. I chose the section because of the line 16. At the end of it, but I'll read the whole thing. Moreover, he shall keep. No. Since the Eternal has warned you, you must not go back that way again. Right? He shall not keep many horses or send people back to Egypt to add to his horses. Since the Eternal has warned you, you must not go back that way again. Okay, so now anyone have ideas about why I picked this verse?
We shouldn't go back and be slaves again. Like, if you're a king, if you have a king, it's not democracy anymore.
Ah.
It's
Interesting, okay.
monarchy. And
So be careful not to let that king turn this into something that's not for everyone. Interesting, okay, yeah.
In the context of it being a rule, we should be looking forward, not, and writing the things that we've done in the past, not living in that.
Beautiful, right. So, exactly. So it's, two things are problematic. One is turning back and going back to where we've been, which isn't helpful for the most part, and possible, usually. And then secondly, also, where are they going? They're going to Egypt. They say, don't go back to Egypt, because Egypt was a place of constriction and enslavement, and we are not free there, right? And there's this, it's a narrow place. Don't go back to a narrow place. Don't go back to a place where there's not options, where there's not flexibility, where there's not growth, right? Don't go back to that kind of squished in narrow place where you can't breathe or move or change. And that's one of the problems with Egypt, with Mitzrayim. Not only were we enslaved, but we also, part of being enslaved is that there's no growth, there's no human growth, right? You can only do what you're told to do, and you don't have any, what's the word my kids always use? Agency, yes. They always talk to me about agency. Okay, so we don't go back to Egypt, which literally means a narrow place, but we want to move ahead into this sort of broad and expansive place where we have control over our own lives. All right, so it's really important. So I thought that was actually really interesting. I never really thought about it before, but at the beginning of Elul, And you have this idea of like, don't go back, keep moving forward, keep going. And for sure don't go back to Egypt, right? Don't go back to a place that looks like that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Elul, because maybe that's a new concept for some people. So Elul is this month. It's traditionally dedicated to an entire month of spiritual preparation for the high holidays. It's not like you can really, if you can do it and people do it, they'll go into sit down in Rosh Hashanah, the first time they've ever thought about it. But really the work that needs to be done now to prepare us. So when we get there that day, we're prepared, we're ready, we know what we're looking at. And that means this time of self-examination, this time of really cheshbon hanafesh, taking account of our souls, where have we gone wrong, where can we change, where are we doing well, where can we do better, all those really kind of hard work talked about a little bit last night. So Elul is this opportunity to think about returning, but returning to our better selves. This idea we have of like going to our better selves. It doesn't mean returning to Egypt. So it's kind of like, right, we use the same language, but it's important to make a distinction. So I actually made photocopies of, and I probably didn't need to do this, but since I made them, I'll pass them out, because I realized this morning that it's in the book. We just sang Echal Sha'alti. It's all right. Here. Pass those down. I think I have 20, so I should have enough. It's really, all that's on here is the verse that I just read. I have enough. The verse that we just read, and one verse from the Psalm 27, which we already sang. I kind of thought about, I could have just had you go back and forth to the book, but do you need one? I'm sorry. I do. I do. Okay. So let's think about, so that verse. I highlighted, so I don't have one, but I highlighted some things. I highlighted some words, pretty fancy, what you can do with Safaria. And so what I did was I highlighted the words that have going back. So in the Deuteronomy verse, it's like, don't do that. Don't go back to Egypt. Don't go back that way again. Don't go. So like we get this idea for Elul, like keep moving forward, right? And I think that's a really important verse. Now, and also when you think about what were the warnings about the king? Let's go back to that for a second. What were the warnings about the king? What we're supposed to watch out for the king? Not to get too distracted with acquiring things, right? With possibly chasing idols, with having the wrong, right? Like not being focused on the right things, acquiring wealth in the form of horses, acquiring women that was acquiring territory, because the wives usually came with a piece of land. I don't know, sometimes, often, right? So there's like this whole thing of getting more, becoming bigger and more powerful, as opposed to actually leading people. So when we think about that in terms of Egypt, what might some of our own things that we might go back to are being distracted with getting things, with acquiring things, with not taking, being happy with what we have, being jealous, I don't know, right? You can probably all fill in the blanks of some of the things that how these could pertain to us. So this idea is like, don't go back to that. And don't put a leader there who's going to get that. Now, if you look at Psalm 27, then this is just this one line, and the one thing I ask of Adonai, only that do I seek, to live in the house of Adonai all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of God, to frequent God's temple. So this shivti means to live in the house of Adonai. It's a similar verb. It's a similar verb to what's highlighted above. So who can sort of make a contrast between the Deuteronomy verse and the Psalms verse? Who can why did I put those both on the page? Yeah, Gary.
In a psychiatric mode, when you're looking at someone with depression, it's that individual looking backward is thinking about the past and trying to change the past. When they start coming out of depression, they're starting to look more forward. And that's a sign that change is happening, that they're recovering, coming out of the darkness or
And so why would we want to do that now? Why Elul? Yeah.
Well, we're approaching a new year, a new life, a new opportunity to change, which is, dramatic, which is a very powerful opportunity. And not only recovering from illness, but to change ourselves, to do something better with ourselves.
So yes, thank you, Gary. So what about this, what about to live in the house of God? What does that mean? To live in the house of God. That the verse tells us. The one thing I ask is to live in the house of God. Again, within the context of Elul and not turning back. Yeah, Lois.
It's in the protection, the comfort of living in the house where God is there for protection. But you asked why we thought we had chosen this. I have no idea why you chose it, but it might.
I told you already, so you weren't listening.
Well,
It's okay.
about not going back. But I was thinking that maybe in the back of your mind is the idea that our congregation is going to go forward with this project with Temple Sinai.
Wasn't thinking about
We have
that.
an opportunity to live in a larger house of God, and that might be a wonderful thing for everybody.
So I was not thinking about that. However, what's interesting about that is the not going back part. The one thing that will get us in trouble probably is if we keep going back, but it used to be this, or it used to be that, or we always did it this way, right? We always did it that way without realizing that you can't do that anymore. When people say to me, oh, there were 150 people in my confirmation class, I'm like, yay for you, but we can never do that. We're never going to be able to do that again. That's just never going to happen. So what can we do, though, right? So that's nice. It wasn't what I was thinking about, but that's nice. Mike, were you going to say something?
What struck me is the house isn't a physical structure. It's not brick and mortar. It's a spiritual, it's an emotional space that we are fortunate to be able to be in if we choose to be there. And that is what day by day can give us some hope and some connection and some hope looking forward.
Nice. Yeah, other ideas?
I think there's something interesting about staying still versus moving, because I feel like in the psalm, to live in the house of Adonai, it feels like you found a good spot to rest, and you can hang out there and be nurtured, whereas you're being warned against fleeing and moving away from a good thing or moving towards a bad thing.
That's nice, too. Yeah. All those are nice.
I
Yeah.
think it's like dwelling in the values.
Nice.
It's the spirituality, the values, the things that are not related to the structure, but to the philosophical structure, but not to the physical structure.
Right, so that's actually that is what I was thinking, is that this house of God, like moving away from Egypt in this narrow place, in the place of enslavement, the place of constriction, place with no choices, to moving to this house of God could be understood as a place of, built of our values and our traditions and the best things, and and Elul, we can move towards that, or we can move towards our best selves. And how do we do that? By reflecting on what are our traditions, what are the things that our tradition tells us are important, what are the things that, right, where can we live that is going to be good and healthy and safe and peaceful, right, and all those things. Yeah, that's really why I liked that. So more things in terms of Elul are like going back to Egypt, and also are like, what can we get rid of that aren't very helpful in our lives? Kinds of habits and stories do we keep telling ourselves about? What are the stories that we tell ourselves over and over and over again about ourselves that don't let us move forward? What kinds of habits do we do that have the same thing? What kind of paths are we taking that aren't really getting us where we want to go? Can we turn and go on a different path so that we're getting to the places that we want to go? And then what does it look like when we get there? How do we know when we're there? I said this last night. It's not perfect. It's not that we're looking for a place of perfection, but we're looking for a place where we're more helpful, more compassionate, more caring, more what all those words are, whatever you want to fill in, more peaceful, more useful. all those, right, those kinds of things. We want to move towards those kinds of things. And we could call that the house of God. I think that would be a nice way of understanding that. So that's it. So that's why I picked it. And it's sort of the message. We're at the very beginning of Elul, so there are many, many places online. If you're interested in reading Elul readings, I have a whole bunch of them I can suggest to you. I couldn't figure out a way to do it because it's all online, and I didn't want to put it on paper. But there's like a lot of places, a lot of people that are writing really interesting things about Elul, so that giving us things to think about every day. Sometimes they can come directly to your inbox, and they're just ways for us to use this time well. Yeah, Susan.
I read something maybe this past week about sort of a difference in how Jews would look at making New Year's resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
That we would make them during the month of Elul and try to work towards them.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time the New Year happens, we've already made some progress.
That's nice, yeah.
Which is a little different from, okay, it's the New Year, I'm going to get that membership at the gym.
Right.
And I'm going to go, and then, but you haven't done anything to prepare, and you start out with failure because you don't do it. But here, the idea of this 40 days is that we have time to actually make some steps towards that. So by the time the New Year comes, we've prepared ourselves.
It's nice. I like that.
Make progress.
Yeah, it's a lot to ask of yourself to just start thinking about it on Rosh Hashanah, or worse, Yom Kippur. Right? Any other thoughts? All right, well, thank you. And I hope that we all use Elul to the best way we can, to really, really use these 40 days in a powerful, hopeful way. So let's return the Torah to the Ark. Please rise as you are able. What page is that? 256? I think it's 256. Page 256.
Yeah. Yehallelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado. Hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo. Tehila lechol chasidav, livnei Israel am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Ki lekach tov natati lachem, Torati al tazovu. Etz chaim hi lamachazikim ba, vetomcheha me'oshad deracheha darchenoam b'chol netivoteha Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh yameinu kekedem.
Please remain standing as you're able. Page 282 is Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
Kaddish is on page 296. No, it's not. It's on page 294. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. Then the last week, Daniel Harrison, a member of this congregation, and Alan M. Schindler, cousin of Michael Lande, member. So we're remembering those hostages who were murdered last week and buried this past week in Israel. Carmel Gott, Aidan Yerushalmi, Hirsch Goldberg Poland, Alexander Labavanov, Almog Sarusi, and Master Sergeant Ari Danino. Within the last 30 days, we remember Dennis Green, uncle of Josh Pollock, Arnold Hantman, the brother of Carol Lehman, David Wallach, the father of Beth Wallach, and Nicholas Zeiner, the stepbrother of Alicia Pollock. We also remember those who died this season, years past, whose yahrzeit we mark on the Shabbat. Barbara G. Aaron, Bruce Americus, Robert Amper, Milton Berkman, Shirley Bilder, Gerald Brostoff, Harriet Cohen, Richard Crone, Arnold Zoidelbaum, Sandy Eisenstadt, Andrew Feldman, Nathan H. Cart, Malcolm James McCormick, Lenore Reicher, Jordan Schimmel, Dorothy Schumann, Jacob Spear, Fanny Lev Stern, Theodore Tabachnik, Samuel Thomas, Hel Tima, Bernard Weinberg, and Ruth Westerman. Any other names for Kaddish this morning? Zichronam livracha, may all their memories be for a blessing. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabal, v'yalmad yivrach hirtei, v'yamlik malkutei, v'chayachon u'vyomechon, v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, hagalav v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mavarach, v'lam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yinaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, shmei v'kudashah v'yirchu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tishbechata v'nechamata, damiran v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'ramav, huyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. You may be seated. In just a moment, we will conclude our service with Ki Eshmeira Shabbat on page 330. Kiddush and Motzi will be in the foyer.
Just wanted to say thank
Thank
you
you
to
to Laura.
Laura Daniels. It's very tricky to walk. There's a lot of moving pieces in the service, and so thank you so much for just powering through. It was fantastic. Thank you so much.
And also thank you to Luke. I don't know if there were some problems with the internet earlier. I hope it worked for this service. But thank you all for being here. Cantor Glasner and I are always so happy to share Shabbat with you, to share time with you, learning and praying and singing together. Yeah, page 300. If you haven't signed up yet to go to attend the town hall meeting, this is what Lois was referring to learn about the project with Temple Sinai. The independent consultant will be with us virtually in this miracle of that is the internet will be able to be with us and Temple Sinai at the same time and tell us about the timeline, the status. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions, but you do need to register. So it's in person and it's online. You do need to register. And if you need any high holiday information, it's all on the website. Everything, dinner reservations, times, childcare, tickets, all of it on the website. Yeah. Kieh Shmeira Shabbat, page 330. Shabbat El Yishmereini, Kieh Shmeira Shabbat El Yishmereini, Oti Leomea. El Yishmereini, Kieh Shmeira Shabbat El Yishmereini, Oti Leomea, Beino Ubeini, Oti Leomea, Beino Ubeini. Shabbat Shalom.